is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear, I'll state my case, of which I am certain. I've lived a life that's full, traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Now, I just want to say, it's a beautiful song, but Trump posting that and then posting this makes me think that the Iran war is going to intensify a little bit this week.
Sometimes in history, there's this magic moment. Somebody appears on the scene and everything changes.
I am with you.
We've never seen anything like this.
I will fight for you.
This was a man who's met his destiny.
And I will win for
He said he was saved by God in order to make America great again.
His victory was the greatest comeback of all time.
We're watching history, so buckle up.
So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting week, guys. We had Trump saying that he would have a deal signed by this morning, and if that didn't happen, he was going to blow up bridges and energy infrastructure in Iran. We'll see how things go. Technically, the ceasefire doesn't end until tomorrow, but I think it's going to be fun. Good morning, everybody. I don't know, unable to connect. So maybe X didn't work. I was hoping I got a stream going on X. Let me just hop over here. Looks like I'll have to figure that out. I probably need a new key or something. It's been a long time. Oh, wait. Shut the fuck up. Is this working? Are we streaming on X?
I've lived a
Motherfucker. Beautiful. All right. Cool. We're going to have chapters after the video, too. So for the people that can't do the whole thing, you'll be able to see chapters going forward. So kind of stoked. This is actually working out pretty good. The wife has been helping out a ton. We're going to have YouTube shorts. We're going to break up specific things, especially for chart day. We're probably going to post those separately so that you guys can quickly access them when you want them. Bitcoin, if you look in the bottom right corner, probably show that. If you look in the bottom right corner, over there, you can see how we're still testing that resistance level for a breakout that goes back from about 6 months ago. It would be beautiful to see that. I wonder if this is working still. Is that timing out or is it working? Did it bomb? Did it blow up? Let me refresh real quick. Might still have to fix it. One screen on Restream tells me it's broken. Over here, though, I don't know. Is it working? Is it working? All right. Anyway, you guys let me know. Bought my first Tesla. Sean, I hope you love it. It's fucking awesome. Teslas are like the greatest. Let me see. Is chat also working on X? It looks like I just see YouTube right now. I think there might be issues with X. I don't know. I'll figure all that stuff out. We'll see how it goes. Good morning from Florida. Are we green today? I'm actually surprised by how much strength we see today. We're going to cover a lot. There's a lot to cover. I'm very excited about Micron. Projected earnings for that are through the roof. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at MicroStrategy. We're going to keep a close eye on STRC all week, trying to see whether or not that starts to initiate again, because they've started doing bi-weekly. I mean, how do you say that? Bi-weekly, bi-monthly, however you want to say it. Every 2 weeks, they're issuing a dividend. I think that could actually change to weekly. It sounds like Strive is going to do the same thing. We're waiting. Let me know, guys. Oh, yeah, ASTS, the space company. Yeah, I've heard they're down like 15 or something. We'll do a chart on that eventually too, probably on chart day. But Bezos actually landed a rocket, so he had a pretty good weekend. I saw Elon Musk even congratulating him, which is awesome. But we've got a lot to talk about today. I love seeing this live. That's fucking awesome. It's exciting, even if it's not working. I don't care. Maybe it is working. Yeah, it looks like it's working. It's fucking working, yo. Yay. I do want to point out a few things with a few different charts. I know that, and somebody said that Sean Farrell was bearish on crypto. I believe, what's his name? Mark Newton is probably that way too with stocks. But then you got the counter to that, you got Tom Lee, who's always bullish. But what I wanted to point out here is something I think Tom Lee's pointed out a few times too with Ethereum. When it goes parabolic, it goes parabolic. The thing I love is this is like a 7-8 year trend line right down here. And if you look, you can see where it was resistance, it was briefly support, couldn't hold it, broke down, tested back up, blew through it, went back, tested it, went back, tested it, went back, tested it. That's just 4+ years from here to here, but it's 7 to 8 going all the way back where it's respected resistance levels and support levels. It's a really good sign. And we bounced off of that. We did a great job with it. We got above the first fib. We're sitting underneath the 200 weekly moving average. I think we can consolidate in this range, but once we break it, man, I think there's an easy 60 to 100% on Ethereum alone, which would be amazing. And I'm sure a lot of people would stop cussing Tom Lee's name for BitMiner once that happens. a lot of good charts. Let's go though. I want to switch it up a little bit, and we got a lot to look at. We'll check the fear and greed and all the stuffs. I'll probably start off with AI and chips actually here in a little bit, but first, let's go over and see what the CNN Fear and Greed Index is doing today. It looks like we're in greed at 68. That's a pretty high level. So stocks deserve a break. I think they could get one. We showed you this too with the S&P. I'll just bring it up again last week. Not that we've hit it. We're actually a little bit off of it, but again, we have kind of this resistance level. This can vary a little bit because there's that one wick right above it, but we're close to it. And so maybe we grind up a little bit more. Maybe we stop for a while and take a breather before heading higher. Or maybe we go back down over here again to back test this really strong volume level to turn it into support. I could see that happening. If there's a week where we're going to retrace, I think today is the week. Really boring mug. Starbucks mug. Really boring, but it's nice. It stays really warm. I love it. I love it. But yeah, super boring mug. But you can see where the S&P deserves a break. And I think there's a few different areas where we're going to probably see that. The war with Iran, I don't think it's over, guys. And maybe we should cover that first before I jump into chips. Since there's been a lot of noise on that front real quickly. Let me just jump over. So in case you missed this, we did take a ship. It looks like we took a ship that might have had fuel on it, sodium, petrochlorate, it looks like oxidizers and propellant chemicals that are dual-use materials for ballistic missiles. And this was coming from China, so there's a reason we let a number of Iranian flag ships go by. I do think it's interesting that we stopped this particular one. We haven't said what the contents were. We blew up the engine inside of it and confiscated the ship. So I think that's very fascinating. We've got a bunch of back and forth where there's supposed to be a meeting in Pakistan. Again, Trump said that we were supposed to get something signed and that if we didn't, we would start blowing them up. They say that we're going to start blowing them up and do a sneak attack. I think that could be true. But officially, we shouldn't be doing that until after Tuesday. But man, if they don't even show up to the peace talks, which I think are bullshit anyways, and that the IRGC obviously doesn't agree to, even though their diplomats are starting to, I think you're going to see shit go down. Mario Nawfal put, the U.S. Energy Secretary just told Fox News, this was yesterday, they are close to a major solution on Iran. Every president since Carter has tried, all 47 years of sanctions, proxy wars, and nuclear standoffs, say this is easier said than done. No details given. Yeah, so Mario, I don't think Mario loves Iran. I don't know how much he's rooting for them to fall. We also have, this is just an example of one, we have tons of drone ships that are operating in the Strait of Hormuz to try and both demine and monitor the situation for speedboats. I think we've been building out that infrastructure the whole time. I think we're going to start testing that soon. But again, a bunch of back and forth. It pretty much revolves down to if we don't get a deal, we're going to see shit escalate in a major way. And again, there's so much, bullshit coming out of the IRGC. They say that they're rearming faster than the U.S. can restock, and that they're able to restock their stockpiles quicker than before the war, which is just complete and utter bullshit. If you've been paying attention, we've blown up all their manufacturing facilities that produce drones, that produce ICBMs, that produce the precursors for them. It's just gone, all of it. So be really hard to rearm at the same rate when you've had, 80 to 90% of your Air Force, your air defense systems, your probably 70 to 80% of your drones blown up, and 80 to 90% of your Navy. It's going to be really hard to meet these numbers that they're talking about. I think that's the gist of what you need to know with Iran. I think there's going to be a lot of noise about it. I think you can completely disregard it and just move on because there's a lot of good stuff happening. Let's go to AI and chips. I wanted to talk about Micron. I love this one. This is one of my favorite plays. I'm up to 6 figures on it now, low 6 figures. Thank you to the 200 people that are here too. If you could hit the like button, it's greatly appreciated. All of that helps. But the 19 largest companies sorted by 2027 PE estimates, it says, I'm not saying MU needs to get even close to the PEs of these other names, but in the last 10 years, it averaged 13.69 for a PE, and the median PE was 7.61. So even taking the smaller 7.61 into account, then MU may still, and I think he's talking about forward PE, that it has 60% upside. And I'm saying this, yeah, it is forward. He just didn't put it in here. I'm saying this, it's going to go a lot higher than 60%. I think these guys could continue to rock and roll once they have another earnings if they blow away estimates. And that is for a good reason. And I'll show you here in a second. I don't know if I have, I'm going to use a new bookmarking tool too. It's like Twitter Smash or something. I can't remember the name of it. My wife found it. It's supposed to be really good at organizing and allowing me to be able to, better than the bookmarks in X. It'll take what I put in here, but it'll allow me to be able to see which ones are trending and which ones are the most popular and sort them better, whereas X gets a little weird. So I'm very excited about that. And you can see over here, guys, I've got my new Mac Mini. I'm going to be playing around with that hopefully here in the next week. I've got a lot going on, but hopefully I'll be doing that. I've got an MRI for my leg for another potential surgery on Friday. But a lot, hopefully the more fun stuff than bad stuff. Taiwan Semiconductor doing great, 30% upside on latest price estimates, targets. What was the company? I don't even remember. It doesn't really matter. But here's what I wanted to talk about. This is the fucking crazy shit right here. So this just says a lot, I think, about what's going on with the chip sector right now. This is just amazing. So this is Amazon versus Meta versus Micron operating income. And this is showing what operating income was, the dark blue for Micron before. And then what the estimate is for end of year 2026. And then by 2027, end of year, they expect Micron to have more operating revenue than Meta and Amazon, which is just, I don't think, priced in, especially right now. What are we sitting at? Let me just check here real quick. MU. We've got a forward PE of roughly 7.33 with 196% revenue growth year over year and 775% profit growth year over year for a company that is just cash rich, went from having debt that was greater than their assets to having assets that are much greater than their debt. Operating expenses haven't went up a bunch, but they are putting more money into R&D, not SG&A, which is great. You don't want to just survive. You want to prosper. And so you need to have research and development. Look at this net income for last quarter. It was almost $14 billion. This is, to me, this is just a steal. And look at the estimates here in 2026. I mean, look at where we were, guys, in 2023, even 2024 to 2025. Start to get a little baby ramp here. This is why so many people are fucking rich off of Micron. And then look at this. So I love this stock. I think it's still cheap. And I'll probably buy more if we start dropping a lot. I'll probably buy more. One sec here. I'm just switching channels to CNBC. Kevin Hassett's going to be coming on a little bit. But I love the opportunity here. I don't think enough people are paying attention to it. Hamid put 131 billion 2027 profit estimate for a company valued at 500 billion. 131 billion in 2027 and profit estimate for a $500 billion company is pretty cheap. So I think this thing still has a ways to go. And I'm very excited about it. Let's see if there's anything else. This is just somebody talking about CPUs becoming more prevalent in the future. That CPU processing will start to take over because for chatbots, it's all GPU, right? RAG pipeline, coding assistant, that's where you start. Once you get past the pipeline and you get to coding assistants, then it's a lot more CPU. Multi-tool agent, CPU. Research agent, CPU. Complex orchestration, CPU. So what they're saying is CPUs are going to come back to life. And I've been hearing that same thing out of Jensen Huang, which is good. You got a quick clip here from Chamath talking about cloud companies with the biggest, I should say this, he's not talking about IREN, but let's listen to what he has to say.
Which is we are absolutely compute constrained. I think if you play this out, the real problem, again, goes back to Anthropic and OpenAI. If I were them, it is a 5-alarm fire for them. They, more than anybody else, needs to get their hands on compute. They need to have land PowerShell, but otherwise that revenue could either slow down or hit a wall, and it will not be because of product quality and adoption. It will entirely be because of the Friendster effect. You just couldn't keep the site up. And I think that would be a huge, huge problem for us.
So they're talking about, I think, OpenAI in that reference, and I can't remember if they're talking about Claude specifically in that one too, but what they're saying is these guys haven't built out enough infrastructure, and I actually think that reference was Claude. They haven't built out enough infrastructure, and they're leasing. They got these lease agreements, and it's going to be hard to get power. It's going to be hard to get the GPUs, and that Claude could suffer from that in the future. And again, OpenAI has its own problems, but they're saying, hey, IREN can help with this. I think IREN, Cipher, maybe CleanSpark could all help with that too. I still agree with that narrative. I do think we're constrained. I don't want to get into all this deep stuff here. Google in talks with Marvell to build new AI chips for inference. Again, these are like TPU based. I know Jensen Huang talks a little bit shit about that. I don't think there's much else here, though, I care about right now. Palantir is reportedly among companies looking to build the FAA AI tool for air traffic management. That's great that we're modernizing that. You got Chinese robots. This thing's great because it reminds me of a T-Rex. It's got little tiny arms. It falls over. They're talking about whether it can get up on its own.
Miles are like a few meters.
And there's just tons of these. There's so many broken robots. None of these things have brains. You can see the guys with the remote controls for all of them. Even though they said like 40% of them were autonomous, I have my doubts. And again, just looking at TSM, these CAGRs, guys, 2025 that came and passed is nothing compared to 2026. The ramp is a 60% CAGR going into 2029. I think hardware, I agree with Jordi Visser. There's massive hardware constraints, massive energy constraints. So I think, again, IREN, Cipher, CleanSpark, great. Taiwan Semiconductor, Micron, Samsung Helix, whatever it's called. All these things are probably going to do really, really well in the not too distant future because we just desperately need them. Mark Andreessen, one of my favorite people, from the PayPal Mafia. He says, this has at least 1,000x my productivity on weird side projects. I have a very, very long backlog that I'm clearing with alarming speed. Unbelievable that we used to fill buildings with smart people and have them type algorithms into computers letter by letter. Again, just programmers talking about how quickly they can move nowadays because of AI. My own research is so much better because of AI. I think there's a lot of good stuff happening. I can't wait until I try this new bookmark tool and we can look at that going forward here. I think it's going to help a ton. Let me go into Bitcoin. We'll just roll down here. I did a post this morning, again, just showing how we've got pretty much a free road to 80,000. You can reference that on your own. Also, Quentin posted most disappointing Bitcoin cycle ever. I put unless the 4-year cycle is broken and fundamentals matter more. And I do believe it's broken. And either way, I mean, if you look over here, man, outside of 2017, we were basically getting near the lows of all these other cycles. So could we take another leg down? Possibly. I highly doubt it, though. I highly doubt it because of what MicroStrategy and Strive are doing, and then what potentially Metaplanet could be doing with Mars in the not too distant future, because the bond markets don't trust governments around the world, and they do seem to trust Bitcoin-backed dividend plays much more than they do riskier corporate debt, and again, just even U.S. debt, and especially debts around the world. So the way we were able to gobble up Bitcoin last week and the week before, and and again, now that they're doing the biweekly, I just think, and if Strive does that too, I could see them going to weekly. I could see people not shifting then and sticking so that they can get each one of the dividends, or again, tightening the range where you have less downside. And I'll just show you what that looks like with MicroStrategy here. This is beautiful. So you can see where, again, we've had some major drops where this thing wasn't trading at the 100 that they'd like to see it at, right? You can see that here. You can see that here. You can see that here. But right now we're here and bouncing. And I think with this 2-week window, we're going to have another payout at the beginning of May, I want to say. I don't know. This hasn't updated as far as the dividend calendar yet, but we have another one right at the beginning of May. So I don't know why anybody would sell right now only to have to buy back in like the next week. So I think they're going to get it to where this volatility is gone and it's trading much more at par at the 100 level. And they're just printing. I mean, look at how much longer the timeframes are. They had a real brief print over here, a little bit of a print here, a longer print here, and then a little baby one, and then boom, huge chunk, boom, huge chunk, drop back down. But again, now if the dividend's going to pay out right here, we could be right back up at this again, and they could just be printing and printing and printing. I really wonder how much Michael Saylor bought. CleanSpark needs to announce a deal. I agree. They totally do. Wonder how much. Let's see here. Hoping CleanSpark shows some sense of urgency pretty soon here. The time is now. I agree, man. They've really got to move. And they seem like they have a good setup. They might not have as much energy as Iron, but they do have enough, and we'll see how it plays out. Jesse, between Iron and MicroStrategy, what do you like more? MicroStrategy right now, personally. I think STRC is really safe. I think it's really safe. I think it's safer than probably 90% of bonds nowadays. I really do. Outside of the United States, I think we'll still end up doing all right. And if you look at our bond market, even though people have been shitting on it, if we look at the 10-year and the 30, again, we're still hitting this resistance here. And I could draw this line a little bit differently. I probably should. It's probably more like this, right? But we're still hitting that resistance level, and we're still ready to roll over. And again, this is a downward trend. There is a bearish divergence on this that starts in October of 2022. So all of 2023, 2024, 2025, heading into 2026, that's almost 4 years of bearish divergence. This thing wants to come down. And again, even the 30-year, even with all the chaos, guys, we're at war, we're money printing. And yet we still can't get this bond to break out higher. It gets up to the 4.99 range, and then it comes back down again, even on the 30. And so we're still seeing progress in the bond market, despite what the bears want to say. They want to say that the U.S. bonds are just falling apart. They're not really. But I do think that STRC is just such a great product. It's based off Bitcoin. Bitcoin, for MicroStrategy to do well, only needs a 2% growth rate. And they literally, guys, they could devote just their bond income towards cash, and they could pull in a couple $2 billion that allow them to be able to pay these things for even more years. I could see them extending this to 3 years worth of cash on hand for dividends. And do you really worry about where Bitcoin is going to be in 3 years? If you worry about where Bitcoin is going to be in 3 years, you do not want to buy this. If you're not worried about where Bitcoin is going to be in 3 years, if they get their dividend for that long, I think right now it's close to 2, then you have nothing to worry about. They can pay this out for 2 years. They can always suspend it if they need to and not pay the dividend, which means that this thing can never go belly up. So it's the most opportune vehicle for MicroStrategy right now. And then at the same time, they had a 32% premium on the stock on Friday. So they could have been selling into that. We don't know. We'll find out today. You guys let me know in chat once we find out how much MicroStrategy bought. But they could have been selling into the market and accumulating even more Bitcoin then too. And I haven't posted I don't think I posted a chart on this yet, but I do want to show it. So actually STRC doesn't pay a dividend. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's a technical term, but yeah, you're right. It's not a dividend. That's why they're able to suspend it if they need to. But it's essentially a dividend. Just think of it as a savings account. It's not backed by the U.S. government. It's backed by Bitcoin, and they can suspend the payment if there's some kind of risk of default or it's causing the business strain. They have the ability to be able to do that. But you got to remember, it's in their best interest to do the right thing, just like how they said they'd never sell Bitcoin, and then they never have. Even though they went down to 15,000 on Bitcoin's price this last cycle, and everybody said that they were going to go bankrupt, didn't even come fucking close. They could have been down to 3K at that time. And unless you believe like some of these morons like Mike McGlone who say that Bitcoin's going to 10,000, I think it's a very safe vehicle. Also, I wanted to point out here, so we were under the 200 weekly moving average on MicroStrategy, which sucks. We dropped a total of 81%. That was very far down. We were buying the dip. Peak volumes were right over here at 130. We did grind in that zone for a while. Then we had our breakout, currently sitting right at the peak of volume right over here. And we have room to run anywhere from another 20% to 46% before we start to hit resistance, where we get closer to the 100 moving average. Actually, the 200 on the I think the 200 on the daily is up here. I'd have to look. Let's just switch. Let's see here. Yeah. So the 200 on the daily moving average, which isn't shown because I was showing the weekly view, and then again, kind of a starting of peak in volumes over here. And then again, we could go as high as like 75, 76 before we really get some kind of rejection. And that is likely to happen at some point this year. Like if we get to 250, if we get to 290, taking some kind of breather, I think is perfectly normal. I expect Bitcoin to test all-time highs this year. If it surpasses that, I'm happy. I'm looking into next year too. What will happen to the MicroStrategy Gladiator Kid? I don't know who that is, so maybe I'm missing something. Victor, actually, no, that was you. You said, is it better because you don't pay tax until sold? I know, I love that. So what he's talking about there is that it's tax deferred. So it does operate like a dividend as far as income, but it doesn't act like one from a tax standpoint. You can it's deferred until you cash it out. So if you wait and hold it for a year, you'll have gained that income, and then your tax will be just long-term capital gains. So it's a way to build an account safely at 11.5%, I believe, as long as you believe in Bitcoin, and as long as you understand who who Michael Saylor is and what he's done with MicroStrategy, and I think very highly of it. Again, I think so. If we go up like 45, 46%, I won't make fun of anybody though if they're taking a little bit off the table, especially if you're in options. That's probably what you want to do. I don't even like options right now, but you should definitely take a breather. Enjoy the moment where you hit this 200 moving average, because we could grind there for a couple of months before we go higher, or maybe even a little back test. Again, this could be like a cup, and then maybe we do a handle where we have this open volume over here, right? Then maybe we do a handle, and then we break out. Towards the end of the year, we start trying to hit higher up into the almost 300 range at the 288. It could be something like that. So I just caution you, but here's the thing. If STRC gets crazy because of this bi-weekly dividend, I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know what's going to happen, because if SATA is doing that, STRC is doing that, and then we get Mars from Metaplanet, it's just going to get weird. It's going to get super weird. Remember, for 18 months, Victor, awesome, dude. 18-month baby. That's a year and a half, dude. That's almost turning into a toddler right there. That's awesome. Thank you for your support, sir. But yeah, I think very highly of MicroStrategy right now. I think very highly of STRC. I don't own STRC right now. Like, I have a starter pack just to, again, follow it. But I don't own it. This is something that I would be adding to if we start making a bunch of money and we're sitting in a good place again, and I want to dial back some risk, then I would look at STRC as bringing in a little more income, right? That's what I'd use it for. But yeah, so AI, STRC, Bitcoin, I'm highly optimistic about all these, and I think that this cycle isn't over yet. Let's keep going. I'm just looking up here, watching CNBC. They're showing the White House. I don't think anything too interesting is happening, though. I said the feelings of ETF holders mean very little to me. So what is this? This is somebody's comment up here. The downside of STRC is that while it holds BTC, it doesn't move with BTC. So there will always be haters among those owning actual BTC ETFs. I mean, it seems like this person might not actually understand how this works, but this was off of a comment from Hodl15 who said with IBIT that IBIT will not give up without a fight, and saying IBIT bought, and they show some of the purchases that IBIT bought in here. And I was basically saying, hey, IBIT bought all this in like STRC bought all this in like one fucking day last week, or 1.5 days. I'm sorry. They bought the entire schedule of all this, which is insane. There's just so much money there. And I said, I don't care about the feelings of ETF holders. There are times when you invest in the underlying, and there are times where you buy the multiplier. The time to buy MSTR when it was down 80%, and when it was at $100, and the time to buy ASST or Strive was when it was down 97%. And I still believe that to be true. Bitcoin will become the world's largest asset within the next 48 months. That's what Michael Saylor was talking about. Again, Bitcoin to gold ratio. This is the 17th. Let me check it today. I think it's actually still sitting pretty good, probably about where it's at. Yeah, so this looks good. We called this, guys. We called the support zone for this. And I mean, honestly, it's more like this, right? That's probably the right way to draw it. But we called the support zone for this and the bounce and talked about how, hey, this was perfect support until it wasn't. Then it tried to be support. Then it was resistance. Then it finally broke above it. Then it became support. And then it became support again. This is a really good sign. Just imagine if just Bitcoin goes up to here this cycle while gold just languishes. And gold has not been doing very good. Even oil. Whoa, something's happening, guys. Do you guys have any new news on oil? Oil is dropped down to $87 again. So it's back under 90 for at least WTI crude, which is fascinating because, again, everybody was telling me about $130, $200, $300 oil. And now we're sitting at $87, dropping on the day. So we went all the way down to here last Friday because of the news, rocketed back up to here over the weekend to the $90 range. And now we're sitting at 87. And again, there's different prices of oil wherever you're looking. It will come up differently. That is a pretty normal thing. Don't worry about that. Real quickly, ETH to BTC ratio. It looks like ETH is still holding on strong. Or I'm sorry, Bitcoin is still holding on strong. You can see how it's pulling down a little bit more. I do think, though, this is just a powder keg waiting to explode. And if we do get a bull's market where shit finally starts to come to an end, in Iran, which I think is coming, you can expect much, much higher, I believe. Combine this with the MNAV expansion from MSTR and ASST along with their preferreds firing off, and we're set for a crazy year for Bitcoin. This just says Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin ETF just hit $100 million in 1 week, and 16,000 advisors are now selling it directly to the wealthiest clients in America. 16,000 advisors. I really think that what people were hoping for last year when it all blew up in their face in October is what we're going to see this year. So again, I'm very excited about it. And just again, here's another good one. This is just talking about, David said that fiduciaries are not obligated to buy Bitcoin, but they're increasingly less able to dismiss it without doing the math. Fiduciaries are not obligated. Yeah, global financial assets, 305 trillion. Bitcoin market cap, 1.51. Bitcoin share of global portfolios today, 0.49%. A standard 5% allocation implies 15.25 trillion of Bitcoin value, which puts us, up to $750,000. And I just said, when you read this post, realize that this data is from 2024 and that financial assets doesn't include things like real estate, gold, etc. So financial assets, 305 trillion, real estate, 268 trillion, gold, 37 trillion, silver is like 5 trillion, more than double the size of Bitcoin. And so I just said, I bring this up because Bitcoin can take from all stores of value, not just financial assets. For instance, I've listened to many real estate investors that are tired of owning rental properties, Airbnbs, buildings, and land. The main reasons given is a combination of maintenance and times of illiquidity where they are unable to sell when they need to. This example shows why Bitcoin, and Gary and Grant Cardone. Gary invited me for coffee when I was in Florida. I wish I would have been 400 miles closer to him. But these guys, they've talked about this too. They're just like, I'm tired of fucking real estate. It's not worth it. I can just buy Bitcoin. And I said, so when he talks about $1.5 million Bitcoin someday, remember that it includes less than half of stores of value. If we factor that in, I would argue that even with a 5% allocation, we could get to 1.5 million. And I'm sorry, he actually said 750,000. But I think, again, we could get even higher than that. And I'm not saying this is happening anytime soon. It's going to take years, but I do believe that that is what is happening. Biggest funds picking up Ethereum, JPM, Fidelity, BlackRock, Amundi, MMF, BNP, just a ton of big funds are purchasing Ethereum. Frank put biggest short side liquidation dominance in 9 months for BTC. Shorts delevered on push to 73,000. This is good. We like to see this. We like to see negative funding rates too. Last I checked, it was. I don't have that in front of me right now. Again, this was February 22nd, guys, 2 months ago, where we talked about how this was the bottom for the Bitcoin gold ratio, and that turned out to be true. All right, let's hop out of here. I'm going to jump over to Ethereum real quick. We got more stuff to talk about. If you guys have any questions at all, too, or any news, let me know. If you guys see anything new that happened with oil, I want to know about it. Again, just the potential for violent upticks. I think people don't realize how quickly these happen. But if you look over here, this bottomed probably like in June. By like August, it was up here. Same kind of thing. Here, wicked amounts here. This technically is probably a line too. That's a line. That's a line. That's a line. That's a line. That's definitely a line. There are so many violent upthrusts that Ethereum does when it's time. I do encourage people to pay attention to that because I think that's probably what's happening. And again, next support level, or I should say resistance level, are just around 2,900 on that. And again, perfect bounce off the fib, guys. People will tell you technicals don't work and that it's astrology for men. But I'm sorry, if you look over here, this thing perfectly bounced right here. That was the bottom, and then it started going higher. Strategy bought 34,164 Bitcoin. Holy shibs. I got to see this. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy, guys. Just think about that. In 1 week, they bought more than 2 months of Bitcoin supply. What is the math on that? 1 second here. 34,164 divided by 450. They bought 2.5 months, 76 days of new supply in 1 fucking week. 76 days. Iran is willing to attend the second round. Oh, I thought they weren't. Oh, whoa. Okay. Shocking. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. Can you believe that, Danny? Can you guys believe that? 2.5 months, 1 week, 1 company on this earth. Just one. That is amazing. That is just amazing. I don't even know what to say. I'm just at a loss for words because that is such a monumental fuck you to the establishment. Does anybody have a good breakdown? Let's see here. Who's got the best breakdown? This one's pretty good. We'll do this one. You get the nod. Dude, I believe in Saylor too. His goal is literally to further what Bitcoin was creating. Thank you to the 363 people that are here, almost 400 now. If you guys could hit the like, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. This is just exciting though, guys. I hope you understand how monumental that is. 2.5 months, 1 week. 1 week. That means, what is that? 6 weeks? They've got the entire supply for the year. And I think it's accelerating. And then we haven't even seen Strive kick in yet or Metaplanet kick in yet. Even though Strive had a 30% premium too, they could be buying. Let's see what Strive ends up buying for the week. Let's look over here real quick. This is just, sorry I'm spending extra time on this, but wow. Did Strive buy too? Let me refresh here. This might be from last week. Look at this, though. Capital B, Smarter Web. Smarter Web was up 22% on Friday. Canaan, ANAP, Hyperscale, we're actually starting to see increases again, guys. Let's look here at Strive. I want to see if Strive did anything. While that's loading, we'll actually just check. Unfucking believable, though. Just unbelievable. It's just like, wow, you know? I'm at a loss for words. Go to strategy and click on the image. It'll take you to the view to the PDF that breaks down where it is bought. Oh, okay. I'll do that. Give me a sec. I have that bookmark somewhere. And again, guys, I just want to show this. This is from last week. But look at this. Look at how perfect this respected this. Look at this. Look at how perfect that was. Hit the first fib. Call it resistance. 28% till we hit peak volumes over here. I believe You guys let me know. I don't remember where the warrant expiry was. I haven't looked at the numbers from pre reverse split to now. But it's either here at 27 or it's here at like 20. But we got 28% to that. And if it's at this level, it's 67% upside before we hit those warrants. And I just think they are operating at a premium. They could just gobble up a bunch of Bitcoin. And I think they can grind their way through the optional warrants. I really do. Central, go to strategy. Oh, yeah, that was you. Do I have strategy? Do I have strategy still up here? That's strategy? No, that's STRC live. I'll find it. I'll get it back on my main page later. I don't want to spend too much time on it. But again, what can these guys do? I don't know. ASST could do really well. Yeah, ASST. So on April 17th, they were 1.3 and MicroStrategy was 1.26. I think both these guys passed the 1.3 level at one point on Friday. Why am I one of the only people I'm seeing here? Trying to get other stuff. Let's see if Cole said anything. Yes, we're totally voting on this. Oh, yeah, 92%. So that's definitely happening. So I don't see an official response from them. So that was probably from last week. But again, I could see these guys buying if they haven't yet. Press refresh for what? End meeting as usual on a Monday at this time of the day. Just wanted to say hello and thanks for keeping it up. Hey, thank you, man. Borgusio, thank you. Central, the majority bought with STRC, but a small amount with MSTR. See, that's great. I love that they're not tapping their equity too much. I think that's beautiful. And you know what? Let me see here. Strategy. Dashboard. Where is it on the main page? Where did you guys say? Go to the strategy, click on the image. The image. Up here? Oh, no, that's just that. Learn more. Where on the image? When you say the image. Whatever, it doesn't matter. We can look at that later. I got to spend more time on the page. I haven't been there in so long anyway. Yeah, anyway, I'm excited. They posted now? All right, cool. We'll check that later. Either way, I don't care. It is 75. And you know what? I just need to... I need to actually update this post. I need to say this because this is such a fucking big deal. Oh, hey, we got Kevin Hassett. We're going to switch to him in a second too, guys. Maybe. MSTR just bought 75 days of new Bitcoin issuance over the last 1 week. I gotta put this out there. This is just such a fucking cool thing. People have to understand how big of a deal this is. Because it's fucking awesome. All right. I raised cash to buy dark red today. Hopefully you get dark red, man. I don't know. It sounds like the Iranians have agreed to the to negotiate further, even though they said they would not. So we'll see what happens with all of that. Let's go back over here. So again, guys, I am super excited about the opportunity that is afforded to us by what MicroStrategy and Strive are doing. I think a lot of people are going to start to understand that in the not too distant future. Let me see here. I don't have, let me pull up YouTube video because I don't have it up right now. And I want to see what Kevin Hassett has to say. YouTube TV. Let's see here. YouTube TV. Where are you, YouTube TV? Where the fuck are you? One sec. Let me just pull it up here. I think I can get this to work again. Squawk box. Okay. Join live.
I'm amazed at how well behaved the bond market has been. The 10-year staying right around. Put in.
I was just talking about how the bond market.
Time after hours action and
get your podcast.
Bottom put in on
about what your boss's boss needs. Leadership.
I was just talking about that.
Many different forms. It really does come down to just trusting
yourself. Life is short, and you just gotta think big to accomplish big things.
Julia Boorstin hosts
Bucket List
Become a CNBC Pro. Go to CNBC.com/.
Great day to have on Kevin Hassett. He's the director of the National Economic Council. Good morning, Mr. Director.
Joe. Good to be here.
Can I tell you where I want to start? Earlier we had a discussion, Kevin, about all the new highs last week and the
Bitcoin
V-shaped bottom
75.4
put
guys.
in on this latest conflict. When it started, we noted that in previous conflicts like this, geopolitical conflicts, it usually is very short-lived and usually a pretty good buying opportunity. But again, history never repeats. It always rhymes. And for some reason, because of the Strait, the issue of the Strait, because of oil prices and what could happen with inflation and what that would do to the Fed, we thought, no, it's not going to happen. But darned if it didn't happen again, to new highs in the face of all this uncertainty. What do you attribute that to?
Come on, Kevin.
Right. Well, I think that what's been happening more than anything else is that President Trump has been communicating with the American people on what the current state of things is, and he's been talking about how negotiations are moving forward well.
He's been pumping the market.
He truthed over the weekend that their talks are resuming. Now there are a lot of people chattering in Iran that aren't necessarily in power who are trying to perhaps undermine their own colleagues. But the fact is that the President Trump's truths, you go back, look one after another, have given a very clear guide to the journalists in the country and American people about the progress that we're making. At the beginning, the president said in 4 to 6 weeks, we expect this could be resolved, and I think we're getting pretty close to that being accurate.
So if you remove the overhang, or at least keep people updated, my point was that there must be some underlying fundamentals that you would point to.
Sure.
That were,
what time
whether
frame
it's
is he
corporate
talking
profits,
about?
whether it's margins.
I hope not.
I mean, I'm amazed at how well behaved the bond market has been. The 10-year staying right around in a range, in spite of a lot of different concerns about debt and inflation and everything else.
No, it doesn't.
Well, as you know, that we've had 2 earnings seasons in a row where basically everything's surprising on the upside. That's happening because the golden age that President Trump promised is starting to be very visible in the profit data, but also more importantly in the wage data. If you're a person who has a job where you're making tips, or you're making overtime, or you're a retiree who thought that Social Security wasn't what you expected, you need to make some more money, all of you got huge tax breaks in the $4,000 to $7,000 range because of the big beautiful bill. And so I think that with strong domestic economy, then the question is there something about the foreign relations that could upset that? And first, the U.S. economy is the engine of global growth. And so a strong U.S. economy is a super positive despite what's going on.
I 100% agree with that. There's something where it's an old saying. It actually even goes back to before 2008. Where if the United States catches a cold, or sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. It is so true. We are the most powerful thing. We are the most powerful economic engine, and now we're starting to build up our manufacturing sector, and we have the biggest oil, natural gas, helium, all these resources that are plentiful, that are lowering our base costs at a time where China's are going a lot higher, which we'll look at that too. Lots of good data on the manufacturing stuff, wages, and again, what's going on with China versus us.
In the Gulf. But also, once this is resolved, think about how much energy production in the Gulf area has been depressed over time because of the huge risk premium associated with Iranian misbehavior. And so once this thing is done, think about the explosion.
Iran, if we don't have to blow up all their shit, could actually produce massive amounts of oil. And be a lot wealthier than it is.
In new energy production that can happen in the Middle East, driving prices way, way down over time, including in the U.S. The final thing I can say is that if you look at the ship traffic data, it's kind of like every empty vessel on Earth is headed towards the U.S. to fill up with oil right now. So the U.S. is the biggest oil producer on Earth, and the capacity that we have to meet the demand of people who are stuck in that picture that you're showing, I think is a positive surprise for markets.
You know, Kevin, notwithstanding whether you're in support of the war or not, and think that it's worthwhile and that we can, some near-term pain in terms of inflation and affordability, maybe it's worth it in the long run for all the objectives that obviously that we've outlined for why we went in to Iran in the first place. But in terms of inflation, there's a reason we give a headline number, and there's a reason that we give a core number, because food and energy are notoriously volatile on a monthly basis, and they can give people the opportunity to say inflation tripled. Inflation tripled because it was from 0.3 to 0.9. So, everybody's got a way of talking their whatever their own book is. But 3.3
we should check Truflation after
is definitely above what the Fed wants. That was the last number. Even if you use the core was 2.6.
We were at 12% under Biden.
So the president had, when he did this, he knew affordability was on everyone's minds and midterms are coming up. This is a tough sell at this point when everybody's talking about affordability, especially if you don't think that it was an imminent threat, which we're hearing now from certain people.
Well, I could give the other side of it, Joe. I don't think it's a tough sell to say that we just had a 0.2 at core, which rounded up to 0.2 from the ones. 2.6 is the lowest that core inflation has been since before Biden inflation started. And so we've made a huge amount of progress. And then you remember core excludes food and energy. But one of the things that was the best news of the CPI report is all the work that we've done to reduce the price of food. And so when I came in, the only thing everybody was talking about was the high price of eggs. Now egg prices are so low that farmers are actually complaining about it. Beef prices came down enormously because we opened up imports to beef. And so on. Even drug prices have come down because of Trump RX. And so we've made a huge amount of progress on the individual items that affect inflation. And then we're also, of course, addressing the macroeconomic issue of how you get inflation down. And that's by being a supply side. So you got increased supply that puts downward pressure on inflation, and cutting government spending, which went down by about the deficit by $400 billion last year.
I guess it's possible that it takes a while, even if things do resolve in the Middle East.
We'll see if
there are some people that think that oil could be permanently, well, not permanently, but at least higher for an extended period, or at least well above where it was. We had a 5 handle, didn't we? A print at one point below 60. So you think 80 is the new normal, and that's going to make it. No, you don't.
No, I don't. I think that if you go ahead, and again, the exact timing month to month is something that the future.
Even here's another thing, guys, that I want to point out real quickly. If you look at inflation adjusted oil prices to, like, I don't know, 2008 great financial crisis, it's like $145, $150 a barrel. If you go back to the 70s that everybody likes to reference with oil prices and how that's happening now, it's $200 a barrel. So the fact that we're in the 80s and 90s means a lot.
Markets are making guesses about, but if you look ahead, then the price of oil has got to, at the end of this, go down, and it's got to go down because of all the production in the U.S. that we're doing because of our energy.
23% increase year over year.
Dominance strategy, and
also in 1 month, Venezuela grew their oil exports by over 20%. I think it was like 25.
All the production that's going to come online in the Middle East once the straits are open and that risk premium is gone. And think about this in terms of how long it's going to take to recover. The Saudis still have about 2 million barrels a day of excess capacity. They can turn the knobs and increase that production and put it in boats and ship it around the global economy. As soon as the strait is open, they could get going on that. And so
we still have reserves
that I think that there's been energy production that's been suppressed by the Iranian behavior in the Middle East, and that when that takes off, the long-run oil price is going to go down, down, down. Now, if you're a person...
Hey, guys, real quick, we passed 420 viewers on YouTube. It's a great number, so please hit the likes. I appreciate you.
Who's an oil producer right now, and you're expecting lower prices, say, a year from now or 2 years from now, then you should turn the spigot up as much as you can right now, because you're going to get higher prices now than you will a year or two from now. And I think that that's one of the offsetting factors that we're seeing right now. People are eager to get in and sell their stuff at this temporarily high price.
Hey, Kevin, curious your reaction to this story in the Wall Street Journal about the UAE contacting Scott Bessent about potentially the United States providing some kind of currency swap or bailout or
for UAE. I'm
line of credit or rescue. I don't know what. If this
75
if the strait remains closed and it continues to injure their economy, what do you make of that, and what do you know about that?
Right. Well, I haven't talked directly with Secretary Bessent about this, but as you know, the UAE has been an incredibly valuable ally throughout this effort, and I'm sure the Treasury Secretary will make
real quickly before he says anything about that, we did it with Argentina and we made a bunch of money off of it. I see no reason why we shouldn't help do you guys, when you guys look at Dubai, do you think like these guys don't have enough gold bars to be able to pay us back? We should ensure that they have plenty of US dollars. That's what a good friend would do. And the UAE is probably one of the most Western nations in the Middle East outside of Israel. And I don't know, Qatar really doesn't count. Kuwait, I'd say Saudi Arabia doing okay. UAE is probably the most liberal of all of them. And so we should assist that. We should assist them during the time in which they need it.
Make every effort to help them out, should that be necessary. But right now, the President Trump has said he thinks that the talks are moving forward very positively. He said that the talks will continue and even into this evening in his truth over the weekend. And so I think that it probably won't be necessary. But again, these are very close allies. Secretary Bezos has shown a nimbleness and a cleverness about helping our allies when they're in time of need.
Yes,
Argentina, that finally worked out, right?
Oh, sure. The U.S. made money. Yeah, that's right. The U.S. made money.
What's going to happen with, how does this finally work with war? Be glad it's not you, because Tom Tillis would be not,
Oh, he still wishes
the other
it
Kevin,
was him.
You wouldn't be having a hearing either. How does it finally work out, do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm really thrilled that my old friend Kevin Warsh is the nominee. I'm very happy to be here. And I can tell you that he's an incredibly strong nominee. He worked at the National Economic Council when he was a kid.
I have watched about 20 hours of Kevin Warsh now. He is the best person that could be in the Fed chair. I have no doubt that he's going to be powerful and making major changes to the Fed. Major changes from day one. And this week, we're going to listen to, hopefully, Republicans, passing his appointment and moving him on.
He went to the Fed and was the youngest governor. He was there during the financial crisis. He's got impeccable credentials. And so Congress should, or the Senate should confirm him as soon as possible.
He's so brilliant.
My expectation is that after everybody sees him in his hearing and sees how depth on his feet he is,
I might live stream that shit.
Is,
I'm not
and
even
how
kidding.
good his ideas are about returning the Fed towards a place where it's not partisan, that it's going to be hard to resist voting yes.
Right, but how do we get there with the
maybe I'll just save the highlights for you guys.
A roadblock, but we're kind of, both sides are talking at each other. The president hears that Tom Tillis isn't going to do it, and then he doubles down on the subpoenas, and Jeanine Pirro sends people over to the construction site. I mean, how's this finally going to work out? Jay Powell's going to stay on the Fed till 2100, till the year.
Oh, please hit the highlights, guys.
It just seems like there's a lot of talking at each other at this point, and it's Warsh is the one who's caught in the middle of it.
Well, I don't think he's caught in the middle. I think he is in the middle, and that's where he wants to be. And the bottom line is, I think after the hearing, people will see what a strong candidate he is.
He's brilliant.
And don't forget that in the end, Kevin Warsh is going to be the Fed chair. And when he's Fed chair, then everybody who wants to find out about all of the cost overruns and everything else that have been going on over the last couple of years will, of course, be able to do so because we've got a Fed chair there who people trust.
Can you tell us anything about? You're right outside the Oval Office, obviously. What's going to happen in the next 24, 48 hours in terms of the peace talks? Are they going to happen?
I can't get ahead of that. The president has said that they're going to happen, and I believe the president hasn't corrected that, and so that's my current state of information.
And you don't know how many different factions we're listening to in Iran. There's at least 2 or 3, I think.
And I haven't got. I'm sorry, I'm not Iran negotiation guy.
Let us know. Kevin has
just don't listen to Iran.
All right,
thanks, Joe.
See you later.
All right.
Up next, former.
That was great. I don't want to listen to Scott Gottlieb. Fuck that guy. He's the one that got my retarded ass to fucking take the COVID shot. Anyway. Yeah, I'm very excited about what's coming for Bitcoin here in the not too distant future. It's going to be awesome, guys. Let's go back over real quickly and just kind of punch down the line. I do want to check something though. Ooh, I don't want to forget this actually. So let's look at the crypto fear and greed index. We're going to look at economic data. So this one finally is in neutral, headed towards greed. That's probably an accurate assessment and a good number on the coin market cap one there. Also though, let's look at the calendar. Let's go back here. Very strong data, too, from last week. It was just all good all week, guys. And hopefully this Thursday, don't forget chart days coming up. Hopefully that'll run a lot better. We had some internet issues and some other anomalies, but I'm hoping that this time it'll be a lot more structured. I'll have a lot more charts. I'm going to try and build out a bunch that you guys are requesting. I'm going to try and figure out different views than just what I do with Fibonacci's and resistance and support levels, and maybe use like VWAP and other stuff and give you guys a really robust picture of what's going on from a technical perspective going forward. It'll take a while to build it all out, but I'm excited about that. So yeah, ADP weekly, it looks like Tuesday. So we have nothing today, just the 3 month and 6 months. Tomorrow we got a decent amount. ADP weekly employment changes. That has been doing really, really well. If you look over here, guys, this is just sick. Best numbers. If we go to the 5-year here, can we go past 5 years? It doesn't look like it, but literally the best read that we have here going all the way back to September 2025. I'll see if that other one is available. Let me check something real quick here. Not now. Oh, I'm not signed in. I'll have to do that later. But I'll check and see if the ADP has more historical data that I'm just not getting from this view. But as you can see, massive, look at that jump, massive jump in ADP. And this is real payrolls, guys. These are real payrolls. This is a vendor that pays a huge amount of the population of the United States. You might get your checks from them. Retail sales is tomorrow too. That's going to be great. Business inventories is tomorrow. Pending home, So really, the big thing is going to be ADP and retail sales by 7:30. That's a lot of it. Don't care much about the rest of this, honestly. And let's see, what else do we have? We got Wednesday, mortgage details. Nothing really too exciting here either. It's going to be Thursday and Friday. So Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. That's all the stuff. We'll go over it on Thursday too. Got lucky last week and sold your space for Micron. That is a smart move. We might have to look at that chart in a bit. I did want to check this out though. He was talking about inflation. I haven't actually looked at this view in a while. Ooh, this is ugly. Why is it doing that? Let me see. Can I get rid of that? Why am I not getting a dark view here? Let me do this. This. 1 second. I don't know why it looks like shit. I might have to figure that out. I just want to go up here though. So it looks like shit. Sorry for the fact that it's not displayed in dark mode across the entirety of it. But if we look over here, if you look over the last week and month, look at this, guys. Look at energy prices over the last month. Now, again, they were climbing before, right? Year to date is high. But look at over the last month. Gas in the UK, down 30%. German gas down 30%. Methanol down 7.5%. Heating oil down 13%. Natural gas in the US down 6%. Brent crude down 5%. So these are just not numbers that you're hearing from a lot of people. Let's look over here. We got metals. Metals have been going up over the last month. And then let's sort over here. So this is the agricultural side. Let's see what this looks like. So we do have some down stuff. Sugar, butter, coffee, oats, sunflower, lumber. We do have increases in things like cotton and orange juice. But some of that could be seasonal too. Let's just look over here. Woof, cotton's got a hell of a jump. So if you're a cotton farmer, but you know what? When you put it in perspective, not so crazy. If you look at 2008, what came afterwards for cotton, going all the way into 2011 and then May of 2022, it doesn't look like that big of a deal, does it? But I'll try and go through this and see. I'll see what it's looking like on the commodity landscape. I haven't done that in a while, so I'll go through all the individuals. I won't do that right now, but I'll go through it so that I've got a good idea where we're sitting on all this stuff. Industrial. If we sort by the month here, a lot of poly stuff down, but what do we look like over here? Sulfur, urea, again, like ammonium, all these things for fertilizers up. That's not too shocking or surprising to anybody. Year over year numbers are pretty high. So we're seeing under the industrial components side, we're actually seeing a pretty large increase. Eggs still down crazy, down 93%, 22 cents. Look at this number in the US. This is fucking crazy. Look at this. This is going back. Let's go back to all. So this is the lowest number in history for eggs. going all the way back at least to 2012 that we're tracking here. So again, really good prices. We broke 500. Thank you guys so much for helping out there. So again, I think, oh, and I want to check out, I don't know if Trueflation, let's just actually do it on here. Trueflation and see what their latest report is. I just want to see how we're sitting. That's from April 15th, April 17th. So the last one they posted was the 17th of April, and let's see where we're sitting, 1.77. I don't know if I still have the membership on this one, or at least if I do, I don't know what my login is for it. So I got to figure that out. But again, this is a great number. This is a great number for being the 17th just 3 days ago. 1.77% isn't exactly runaway inflation. And we're still seeing what I believe is going to be, shelter's going to pull down drastically. It's going to pull down a lot. Oh, they got gasoline in here now too. I might have to double check my membership and look at it more. I'd love to track all that stuff really well. All right, let's go back over. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go over and get to our bookmarks. So we did a little Bitcoin, AI, Ethereum, MicroStrategy we touched on a little bit. IRAM we touched on. Let's go to U.S. economy. This is one that I don't think enough people are looking at. This is the SPY, the S&P 500. I think he's got the SPX. And what he's showing here is that going back to the Great Depression to 2000, he was talking about how we hit this and then we broke down. And you can see it right here, right? We hit it. We broke down hard. And then we bounced back really hard. And then we broke down again. And now we tested it as support. And are looking to break out of this trend that goes all the way back to 1929. It's only had like roughly 1, 2, arguably almost 3 touch points, and then this being the 4th. But guys, this is pretty exciting. When you get a breakout that goes back 100 years almost of a trend line, that's usually a pretty exciting story. So I like that. I reposted it. It's sad that some dude who talks about how we've got a Black Monday and how everything is going to sell off 20, 30% today gets 4,000 likes, but my buddy Super Bro, who's got 27,000 followers, gets 56 on this. It's just mind-blowing to me. Here's me saying that we should do the UAE swap. I'm sure Luke Groman doesn't like that, but whatever. Good luck with your gold. Kobayashi letter, the U.S. technology sector is approaching a massive debt maturity wall, more than $330 billion in high-yield leverage loans and business development, company-linked software, and technology debt is set to mature through 2028. Okay, so let's look at that. He's right. So here's what I see when I look at this. Yes, there is a big debt wall there, $140 billion, but what this tells me is I don't need to worry about this for 2026 or 2027. And if anything, this debt wall is going to be more of a concern in 2028, which means that I probably don't have to worry about it until the end of 2027. So I'm looking at this as all right, keep an eye on it in the future. Don't really care now. Chris said average additional S&P gain 1 year later was 19.9%. So this is Charlie Belilo saying the 44% decline in the VIX over the last 3 weeks was the 5th biggest volatility crash in history. And again, just reiterating that the chance, even though this is a midterm year and that usually goes against us, but when you see this kind of volatility drop, and not just in the VIX, guys, like the VIX did drop, and I think it's up today, but not a lot. I mean, this is, look at that. Look at where we rejected right over here, like perfectly. But you can see where the VIX is down now towards like peak volume, sitting a little bit underneath of it, really a nothing burger. But not even just that, bond volatility. Again, like they were saying, I'm surprised by how well bonds have done. That's actually a true story. And here, I should probably actually change this a little bit because the story here really looks something like this nowadays. It looks like it had strong support. Look at this, guys. Look at that drop in bond volatility. All the guys who are betting against TLT in the bond market who thought yields were going to explode higher were probably really stoked up here. They're probably less stoked down here. They probably don't love what they're seeing right now. But again, bond volatility is falling off. Things are looking really good. And I think we could see that. Also, my buddy Kush said, are we seriously living in a world where most people look at this chart and assume a double top? Yes, we are. He's showing the SPY versus M2 money supply and showing that we've went up to the .com levels right now. And what he's arguing is we could grind here for a few months But this looks like a breakout of anything. It looks like where the SPY is going to break out from M2. And I would agree with him on that. Also, we have Tom McClellan, the McClellan oscillator, if you know that guy. He says the manufacturing boom is so stealthy because job numbers in manufacturing keep falling. Small uptick of 15,000 jobs in March. So what he was saying is we're actually seeing increased productivity, drastic increase in productivity levels in manufacturing. And for a while there, we had really cheap labor. But that labor cost is going to tick up a little bit. We're going to get even more automation. But what we're seeing here is, I would argue, is that Trump came in here, right? So the bulk of this decline came in over here, and then Trump came right about here. And yes, we declined, but down here, we've started to bottom the end of last year, and now we're ticking higher. And this, I don't even know if this has March data. It might. I've got to double check. But we're ticking higher, and manufacturing is starting to increase. And again, that ADP employment job thing, let's just go back to that. Look at this. This is not a bearish setup when ADP employment is blowing through previous levels like they're fucking nothing. So I agree that we're seeing a stealth recovery in manufacturing. I put you definitely want to be invested in scarce assets. What is this in regard to? Let me see here. I don't know where this will take us. If everyone is just printing money, I think we will need a non-inflationary form of money to exchange between currencies. We're going to need stores of value. So I put, you definitely want to be invested in scarce assets. I 100% agree with Jordy Visser on that. I do think Bitcoin, I think land, not buildings, are scarce assets. I think AI, I think robotics, I think chips, I think already built energy like, Cipher and Iron. I think genomics is going to come back into play in a big way here soon too as well. And for anybody who has not read it, Jeff Booth, a guy I just love, he has this book called The Price of Tomorrow. It is a wonderful book. It is from years ago, before AI really started to kick off, but it predicted what's happening right now, which is that we're going to see massive cost savings on goods, and things are going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper because of technological advancement. And he's, again, a huge Bitcoin advocate, very smart guy. You should listen to him. U.S. exports, I wanted to show this. Texas oil, look at this. This is crazy to me. So you can see California had a lot of export. You could see how New York, you could see how some of these other states are doing a decent amount of exporting with manufactured goods. You could see the Rust Belt. This is probably picking up even more. This is by state 2025. I can't wait to see the 2026 numbers. Look at Texas, dude. Look at the wealth being exported out of Texas. Almost $500 billion in 2025. Imagine what that could be, $1 trillion in my mind this year, if they keep building out, or at least 750 billion, something like it could be a huge, I shouldn't say that, at least 650. You could see a 50% increase just with the additional price that we've seen at the beginning of the year for 2026 with the commodities that they're exporting to the world. So they could be a 25% share of the entire country for exports. But I do think the Midwest is going to pick up. I think a lot of other areas that are embracing manufacturing are going to be a part of that. I wanted to show this. So breaking, the Federal Reserve reported an operating loss of $18.7 billion in 2025, making its third consecutive annual loss, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what I wanted to say here is this was under Biden, okay? The Fed's operating profit, this massive plunge, Biden started here. This is his year, his year, his year, his year. Then Trump took over this year, and now I think this next year will be in a profit for the Fed. So again, this is not, this is a different economy where we're actually starting to bounce. Also, my buddy Craig Fuller, this guy deals with freight, especially within the country, not just on the ends where all the ships come in. And he said the most remarkable pattern is showing up in our high frequency freight data for the first time since we launched in 2018. The center of the country, the Rust Belt, and the industrial heartland is no longer just recipients of freights, imports, but actual producers of freight, thanks to the surge in American manufacturing. And this is off an article that says, America's in the middle of a stealth manufacturing boom. Factory jobs are down, but factory output has risen briskly. Credit goes not to tariffs, but to the most economic force of all, demand. That's bullshit. Where do you think the fucking the tariffs created the demand? We have demand because we can actually compete with the world markets. So the article is bullshit, but there is the truth between what is happening right now. Ryan Detrick, as we noted at the start of the month, things lined up for a big April but this is even better than we could have imagined. S&P currently up 7.9%. This was on Friday, making it the 6th best April since 1950. Also, I posted this for subs. I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff that's sub only on X. U.S. manufacturing is much stronger than people realize. Winston put U.S. manufacturing capacity has shown solid growth for 16 months, quarters, indicating a consistent trend. This is the first sustained expansion of U.S. manufacturing in nearly 2 decades. So 17 quarters of contraction, 16 quarters of acceleration. This started in 2022, and it's just because, again, you remember with Biden, he was ramping up manufacturing as well. I don't think it was as effective because the government was just throwing out money. But I think again, the pattern started then, and now we're just continuing to see accelerated growth. I think that's it. Oh yeah, and the New York Empire. This was on the 15th, so this is about the middle of last week. But the New York Empire manufacturing significantly beat expectations, and we saw a number that was quite a bit higher. Consensus was 3.2, I think. We got 11. Consensus was negative 0.5, and we got 11. So a really good month for March. And there's just a lot of data like this, guys. There's a ton of data like this. I posted some of these too last week. But again, United States export prices year over year going up, which you love to see. You love to see that because import prices were coming down. Anyway, private equity, one thing I do want to touch on, nearly half of private equity deals were software companies. So if we do still see a massive rout in software, which I don't think we're going to see, I think that's starting to slow down, then private equity could get uglier. But again, if people are worried about private equity, if they're worried about getting good returns, they could just park their fucking money in STRC and make 11.5%. Anyway, let's see. Oh, this is another visual from Craig. For the past decade, the center of the country received freight largely from the coast, as a large percentage of trucking volume were related to imports. Past few months, that has flipped, and now the center of the country has shifted from receiving freight to pumping it. The U.S. economy goods are flipping. The center of the country, the industrial heartland, is shifting to a primary source of domestic freight. Look at this, guys. It's all lighting up again. So you're seeing freight really picking up through Iowa and Missouri and just all the way down here through the Rust Belt. All the way down. This whole area is lighting up again, and it's such a beautiful thing to see. All right, I think, and again, just so many things like this. U.S. plans 4,000-acre hub in Philippines to boost supply chains. We're just doing so many deals like this, guys. There's just so many deals like this. It's amazing. I think that's it on that. I might talk about China just for a second. I wanted to show this. So everybody was talking about China replacing the United States years ago. You can see how China has basically tabled off here for their GDP, while ours is accelerating higher. Theirs has flattened, but their money printing has went through the roof. I don't know if I have a good representation of that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. This is their robots. Oh my God, the robots are so retarded. I won't show all those. Let me see if I can find fertility rate. These are the fertility rates in Europe. Look how bad they are. This is Ukraine. Obviously, there's some stuff going on there. I think it's Ukraine at least. But all of this, China's worse. They're 0.83. Just remember that. Let me see. I think I've got another good chart. Maybe I can't find it. I'll try and find it. I'll have it ready for you next time. That's all I really wanted to talk about there. There's other stuff too, but whatever. It's only so exciting. All right, I think that's it, guys. I think I'm kind of done with news. Maybe we could look at some charts. Let me look up here and see if they're talking about anything interesting on CNBC. I might actually check their videos real quick too and see if there's been any guests that have talked that we haven't listened to. If you guys have anything you want to hear. Also, maybe I should check and see if Fundstrat has any new research. We got Sean Farrell, the MicroStrategy Flywheel is the biggest threat to my bear market rally thesis. I love hearing that. So he's got this bear market thesis. Let's look at this and see. He doesn't have a video on it, I don't think. In last week's note, I discussed some of the reasons that I favored the continuation of this bear market rally. Among those were the anticipated roll-off of the geopolitical risk premium that had been weighing on crypto, positioning in traditional markets that were less saturated in risk, positioning in metrics in crypto that suggested traders were outright defensive, and the anticipated flows from MicroStrategy over the coming days as Saylor was likely to issue as much STRC as possible into the market ahead of ex-dividend date on 4/15. That largely came to fruition. The VIX drew down. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Based on volumes, so he said the VIX drew down and the MOVE index rolled over and credit spreads came back in. We saw broader market risk continue higher with the crypto complex following suit. Based on volumes of 1.1 billion and 1.5 billion on Monday and Tuesday, respectively, I suspect that STRC likely raised more than 2 billion purchase BTC this week when compared with the rising Coinbase premium throughout the early half of the week. It's clear that MicroStrategy has been making its impact felt on the order books. Totally. Around midweek, I admittedly grew a bit skeptical of being able to reach the 80K round number target I had in mind after a considerable underperformance on Tuesday, but it seems that Saylor's dry powder lasted through the week, and there is a bit of a lockout rally occurring in equities, which helps crypto's cause. Now, with MSTR having completed or nearly completed its buys, it's worth stepping back, but they've got the two and thinking about more near and midterm setup. Is there a bear market rally or should we chase here? So I got to disagree with a little bit. I think, again, they changed that dividend to be every 2 weeks, and I think that that's going to cause people to have to rush back into that a lot faster than they would have normally. Because there's people that just scrape the dividend, guys. When you're looking at 11.5% dividend, that's 1% return you can get in a very short period of time. So there's quants that take that risk. Yes, we will look at charts. Fed Warsh inside the Fed releasing stuff about Powell. Yes, that's what we could see. Not just Powell, but the Fed corruption within the Fed. And so I think you'll see the Fed become much more willing to work with Warsh because of the power that he's going to have over them, especially if there was corruption within it, which you know there is. Backdrop, liquidity. Liquidity is the lifeblood of crypto. As I mentioned last week, not much has changed on the liquidity front. Liquidity trends are neutral to negative on year-over-year basis with only modest balance sheet expansion and interest rates unlikely to be cut over the next several meetings. Waits for data to confirm. Again, but the thing so next several meetings, we're talking, it's April right now, guys. We're almost at the end of April. The appointment for Warsh is coming. Powell's term expires in June, I believe it is. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Let's just go over here to the Fed, too, and I want to see when the meetings are. So maybe he's right over the next one. Like April 29th, we're not going to get a cut, right? I think that's fair to say. 350 is the current target, and that's where we're going to sit. And then June is going to be the next one. So it's really going to be June. And I think Papa Powell is still at the helm, but we have a 5.5% chance of a rate cut. I think that could change, though, especially if this war ends quickly. And then by July, I think we're getting one. It only shows a 13% chance right now, but I think we're getting one. So again, if you can look out a few months, I think it's going to be a good deal. So maybe he's right on that. Our neutral to negative on the year with modestly balanced sheet expansions and interest rates. For the rest of this week, though, guys, we've got CTAs buying into the market. I think there's tens of billions more that are going to be purchased. So I do think that can keep us doing well this week. Federal Reserve data to confirm the war-driven inflation was, in fact, transitory. See, Warsh doesn't give a shit about that. The DXY also remains somewhat range-bound. It's therefore difficult to view liquidity trends as being overly favorable for crypto over the short and medium term. I don't know that I agree with him. I think that STRC is going to shock people. And right now, I'm seeing a lot of resilience in Ethereum today, up 2.35%. I don't know that I agree with him. Yeah, I don't know that I agree with him. And a lot of liquidity, guys, has been coming out of China right now. I'm just looking at some of this. Spreads tightening is a good thing. You want spreads to tighten, right? Spreads blowing up means that people are worried about the end of times. You can see that in 2022. Look how high credit spreads got. Banks were failing over here. Then we had the middle of the year right around here. This is actually, so October-ish is kind of when we bottomed in markets over here. And then credit spreads went down. And then again, we had this tariff fear And then over here, we had a fear again more recently about the war, but they're tightening. This is good. This is the good stuff. Do you want to see this? Yeah, so we'll see. Positioning, still a major concern in crypto markets. Are you going to talk about more about STR? Let me see. Put remains rich relative to calls. That's good. We like that. Basis trending lower. BTC 3-month annualized basis. You want that though. You want consolidation. That's all backward looking. B of A global FMS investor sentiment drops to lowest since June of 2025. I love this actually. This is like the stuff you want. I wish I knew the data print on this. But look, April 2026, again, everybody just fearing the worst. There's the trade war. This was this. I actually think this is a great time. All right, here we go. Flows. As discussed, MicroStrategy has been focused on selling STRC preferred stock to raise capital over the past few months. This is a variable rate, perpetual preferred security design to trade around par, which is 100. When STRC trades below par, MSTR can increase the dividend to attract buyers. And when it trades above par for too long, like if they think too many people are buying it and they want to lower the risk profile in the future, they can actually lower the rate. And if the rate's lowered, then theoretically you get less buyers. And so they can control the flow pretty good with STRC. And now with this every 2-week dividend, that helps. Good morning, Echo from Seattle. When STRC trades, okay, we got that. When it trades above par, it can issue new STRC via its at-the-market program. One should expect issuance ahead of the ex-dividend date as traders position to collect the current 11.5% yield. 13.5%, I believe, 13% for SATA. As demonstrated over the past few months, there's been a reliable pattern of constructive price action into and sometimes slightly after the ex-dividend date, with Bitcoin often rolling over afterwards. Based on volumes this week, it's likely Saylor raised more than $2 billion in capital to deploy into Bitcoin. There was likely some degree of front-running. In addition to this, this suggests the potential of a possible exception, which I will describe below, for an air pocket next week as the source of demand is removed. But again, I don't think he's referencing here. When did he create this? He created this on Friday. Let me see if there's any more new research. So he's saying this, but this is before the twice a week. So I don't know how valuable it is. Yeah, that's just from Friday. I think he's going to end up being wrong because of that. Let's look at earnings, guys, and see how we're doing on earnings. And again, I don't like to share all this proprietary information because it costs a couple $100 a month, I think, for people to be able to get access to it. But let's just look here and see what they have to say about earnings. So 93 companies are reporting this week. Of the 49 companies that have reported so far, 10% of the S&P, 92% are beating estimates. 1 second here. All right, sorry. Had to say goodbye to my daughter. 92% beating estimates, guys. And these estimates just keep getting revised higher for EPS. And of those that are beat, they're beating by 5%. Of the 8% missing, they're missing by -4. This is great. So more companies coming in today. We'll see what this ends up looking like. But this is arguably fucking awesome, in my opinion. Let's look at stocks. Give it to me. Oh, no, is it broken? Did it break? Did it break? Let me see here. Aw, sad. Did it break? Son of a bitch. Says live. Did it actually finish? I don't even know how I can check this. Maybe it broke too early. I'll have to check the settings. It says it's live, but if it's not live, bummer. I'll fix it next time. Let me see here. Yes. Okay, so something broke. All right, we'll get that fixed for next time. Good to know. All right, still holding space, looking to add between 50 to 60. Let's start rolling through some of these charts. We already looked at MicroStrategy. We'll skip that one. We can check Tesla real quick. We'll check the big ones, and then if you guys have anything else you want to look at, throw it out there. You mentioned at the beginning you wouldn't be surprised for a retrace this week, right? Can you help me understand your thoughts? Just the war. It's all dependent upon the macro, but I don't think one has to happen. I think we have, I already showed how we have a resistance level at the S&P here that we're real close to. So I'll throw that up again. Again, this line right here, we could hit it. We could go up another couple percent. We could grind up against this and then get some kind of rejection. We don't have to, though. Tesla looking good. Tesla, my Tesla. It did hit the fib. It has come back a little bit, it looks like. But if we can break this fib and start turning it into support, then that's a good sign to me. Because again, this is kind of like a cup. This is kind of like a handle, even though it's went down a little further than I'd like to see a handle go. But we could totally break out. I think Tesla is still going to, I think this year at the very least, we're getting 620. I think that's just a no-brainer. And I think there's the potential that we go up to 930 by the end of this year or early of 2027. And that's a good number, guys. That's a really good number. I'm just going to add my price range into here real quick before I leave the chart. And we'll make sure we save it. And again, I've got a Discord. I got to update all of this and start getting it to where there's just a really clean, easy way to see all the charts that I do. And now that I'm going to update them more, that'll probably become more valuable. If you want to reference these charts when I'm not around, just to remember what the targets were. So this is saying 135% is possible for Tesla between now and then, which I think is awesome. Somebody want to look at Amazon? We can do that real quick. I do want to look at Hood. I did. I think I posted about this. Maybe I didn't. I want to look at Hood and SoFi, and then we'll look at that too. I like what we're seeing here. You could see how we went up to the first fib and then retraced. Pretty normal stuff. We were down almost 60% in this stock, guys, in a very short period of time. It got butchered along with everything in software. We went from 150 all the way down to 63, which is just insane. And now, I mean, really, I think our next area, there's a few areas here. This is probably getting above. This is probably where we're looking for next, right there, okay? It's probably an 11 to 12%, and then we want to grind in that range. If we can break above it really quickly, fucking awesome. But then the next range is really going to be this next fib at 32%, and then the next fib where we're getting close to the all-time high at 62%, and the potential from where we are right now, let me just save this, of going up almost 100% to the .618, where we're likely to see some kind of pause again, because again, that's the golden retracement zone. But I do like this chart. I think, again, it had a well-deserved break. If you look over here, guys, if we just dial back and look at what happened in the past, it's not crazy to get a 55% drawdown. This last one was 58. Let's see what the one before that was. Probably less, maybe in the 40s. 43, and then 55, and then 58. So not crazy by any means. And looking pretty solid. I'm just going to save this chart real quick, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Probably do SoFi, and then I'll run over and do Hood. So that looks pretty sick. Not hating that look at all. Let's look at SoFi. SoFi probably is going to look pretty similar. I don't know if I ever sold out of my ARKG. I might do that, even though it's a small amount. We'll see. So again, we've retraced down a little bit. We're down 1.75%, but SoFi had a really good run, just like Hood. Going up a lot. And I would just argue here that we really don't have, we have this, like, well, I shouldn't say that. We do have this. We do have some volume up here at the fib. So maybe we can grind up another 9%. We really need to grind up against this and try and like establish a pattern, like an ascending triangle or something that shows another cup and a handle. That would be great to see. But really, we don't have any main resistance. After we get above that level, it's another 30% before we start to hit resistance. And again, it's like before we hit the .618, it's like 80% upside. I'll add another one for that later. I'm just going to move that back. I do want to show ARKG, guys, for anybody who's still interested in this one, especially for an options play. I think it's looking more juicy. We did get, again, there's this like downward trend, and it probably should be a little bit up here. Maybe just right up against that line. Yeah, just like that. But again, this downward trend that goes back a very long time. This one, we respect, like we broke down through it, then we respected it, broke back up hard. And then we had this what is it? going back to March 2022. So like 3+, almost 4-year time frame of just grinding under here that we did turn into support. And it looks really nice. Like this looks like a clean level of support. We back tested, we broke up, we hit that, we back tested again. Now we've got like a rising, or I'd say a falling, broadening wedge. And again, you can draw it a couple of different ways. I'll probably just draw it like this to be clean. Something like this. And so we got a falling, broadening wedge where it looks like it's ready to break out, or you could do something like this. This is probably more truthful if we're looking at a weekly time frame. It looks kind of like a bull flag, right? Looks like something that could break out higher. So I'm kind of interested in this, and very interested to see what it can do in the days ahead. It's only down 0.19 right now. But I am very interested to see if this thing can go higher. I really like ARKG right now. And TLT was up 1%. Let me just show that one real quick, and then we'll jump over to Amazon, and then I'll probably pull up other charts that you guys request after that. TLT grinded hard. It's got a lot of little tiny resistance lines here that I'm showing. It is still down. It's right underneath peak volumes here, going back for the entirety of it. And it looks like it still wants to break out. This could do something well by the end of the year. I think I've got calls on this going back to going out to 2028. But I think it's going to be pretty easy to go up 22%, and that gives, I think, a 5x multiplier where we're at. You guys can check on your own. Let's look here. Somebody said Amazon. If you guys have any more, throw them out. And we've got about 27 minutes until the open. Oh, let me save this real quick. Tesla earnings Wednesday. Yeah. Let's go to Earnings Hub. Do I have Earnings Hub up here? Got so many fucking things up here. Probably too many fucking things up here. Let me find Earnings Hub. I can't believe I don't have that right there. Earnings Hub. I got to stay logged into this one too. Yeah. So, yes, Wednesday. I will probably... I might do an earnings call on Wednesday. We'll see. There are some really great people that do that, though. So I might just be piggybacking off their greatness and giving you my own 2 cents. But earnings, yes, for that. And then the next week, I think I've got everything I'm invested in on here. Robinhood in phase next Tuesday. SoFi on Wednesday before the bell. And then after the bell, Amazon. Zeta. I did get offered to go on the show with a couple of those guys. That are really versed in Zeta. I said no for now. Maybe I'll change my mind. I've got SanDisk just listed on here too to keep track of it. Let's see, and then the following in beginning of May is going to be huge. You got Palantir, you got Eero for copper, you got Cipher. I'm not sure how much I'm interested in copper. I'm trying to keep an eye on it though. MicroStrategy, Tempest AI. I keep this one on there because it's a good reflection of it seems to track really well with ARKG. And then EOC, I'm just keeping it on there to see if this earnings call is any better than the last one. Open, Mara, ARKG, CleanSpark on Thursday. There's going to be a lot of earnings coming up here that I'm going to be tracking personally. And I might do calls with them. We will see. Jesse, are you thinking about getting another pup? After my dog, Shiley? Not anytime soon. My dog was a geriatric, and she was... I had to bring her outside all the time to pee. It was just a mess. I had to put basically like pads down on the floor in our laundry room so she could pee on them because she couldn't always hold it. I was basically taking care of a geriatric old person for like 2 years. So I think I'm good on the dog front, at least for now. All right, let's get back over here though. Amazon, I think somebody asked for. Let me refresh here and see if we can pull that up. If you guys have more, throw them out. And again, chart day, we'll be doing a lot more of that. Why the fuck is this not coming up in front of me? Let me refresh again. Amazon. All right, let's look. This chart probably hasn't been touched in a while. Interesting. I don't actually know that this is reflective of the support zone. I probably need to draw this better. It's probably more like this. It's probably more like this, right? If we're being honest. That is a very old... This is from when I was bearish on Amazon way in the back in the day. Long time ago. Let's do this. It's kind of hard. I'm trying to see. I'll do it from here. We'll do it from here. We'll call this the bottom, which I think is very possible because, again, W bottom looks like a W bottom. And I'll actually probably draw it from here. Might have to tidy it up a little bit. We're actually kind of getting near a zone. Normally, the fib would be our break here at 264. It just all depends on how they do with earnings. You got to remember they're still getting tariff impact. So there's stuff going on with these guys that I think you have to consider. I don't know if this is like... I think that's right. That looks right. This looks like the actual support zone right here. I'm going to save that real quick. So we'll see what happens with this. I don't know enough about their earnings and things to be able to speak to it, but this is the chart. So you can see where it rejected, or it looks like it originally opened up, or it closed above this next fib line. Now it's beneath it. It'd be interesting to see if it can close above it again. If so, again, I think 263 is what we're looking at. I'll just save that one real quick. Let's see, Tesla earnings, Mara, CleanSpark. Yeah, we can look at that. Let me see. Mara is right here. Mara's actually been doing really good. I need to update my lines here. But we did find support. Again, support. Didn't even get to it. Support, blowing up. I think I might need to look at my fib-based extension, though. Yeah, it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed because we actually went much further down. What did this thing go from? It went from 34 to 6. Just brutal. These miners were so brutal. So let's redraw this here with the new fib line and just bring it to the .618. So it's down 2% today. Next resistance zone is really going to be right here. Right there. And then again, there's another line. And I will get these updated. These will automatically update in the Discord because I've got links to them. But I need to clean all that up. This is where it gets fun right up here. Because this... I need to get some of this extra crap off of here too. There's so many things to clean up that I'm trying to fix on my charts that I don't like, where they're just too cluttered. But I got to fix this one up here too. But I'll save this real quick. There's this trend line that goes back like over to here. It's like like here. Tried to act as support, couldn't do it. Resistance. Getting up to that again. So once we double, it will be the okay, can it go higher? And if they start to really get the AI narrative going, maybe they do. Again, the breakout could be pretty good. I mean, you could end up going up to like the 40s if the AI narrative really kicks in for this. They're sitting at 4.41 billion. It wouldn't be crazy to get to 15, I don't think. It wouldn't be crazy. CleanSpark, let's see how that's doing. I should do Cipher and IRN too. I don't know if I've done those. So we're trying. Look at this resistance level here, guys. If I do the weekly, it looks a little cleaner. And the daily actually looks better too. Or actually, we need to adjust it a little bit when we look at the daily. This is probably more accurate. And then this. So maybe we're slightly, we're slightly above it. We're slightly above, even with this, we're near the 50 moving average. And we're slightly above this. I'm not going to turn this red line green, though, because there's a history of when I do. I don't believe in a lot of superstition, but when I do, it usually falls under it. So CleanSpark had went down so much. I mean, just from this high back in, 2024, March 2024 is where it peaked. This thing was down 67%, and at one point, down even more. But again, looking better, looking juicier, looking like it wants to break out. And so I'll just adjust some of these lines real quick while we're here, and then we'll look towards others. And I don't see anything else that's too interesting that's happening, so we'll probably do a few more charts, and then we'll call it for the day, guys. I don't think there's anything too crazy. It's all about the Strait of Hormuz and Iran. I'm actually really optimistic about all of that. Even though I do think that the war could intensify, I'm still optimistic. I think all roads lead to a conclusion. And I think it's going to be better than the doomers predict. So that's CleanSpark. We'll see if it can get as high as this. I don't know if that's very possible. It just all depends on the AI narratives. This is a $3 billion company. I say we take that one out for now and keep it less optimistic and say that this thing could turn into, again, maybe a $14 billion, $13 billion company. If they do things right, we'll see how that goes. What else we got? Did CleanSpark, did ARKG. I still have January 2027s. Yep. I still have ARKG 2027s. I've not sold anything with that. I've let stuff turn to dust. I do think that the Januaries will turn around. I think we're getting ready to explode higher on ARKG, man. I really do. We're just right underneath this. If you shorten up these volumes, well, I don't know. You might have to go back to here to get the volume up here. Let's see if it does that. Maybe it doesn't even. Yeah, no, it's still down here. But if we can get above this peak volume here, around 31, and we can turn that into support, and even better, get up to like maybe 32 or even 33, get back up to these levels, start to turn this into support. I think there's a quick trip up here to the 37 range. I will definitely get rid of shorter dated calls and keep my longer stuff. I'm pretty sure I have 2028s in this one, in this grouping too. And I'm not looking for much, guys. If this thing gets up to like 48, like 57% increase, which would not even be close to its all-time high over here. Right now, it's still down. How much is it down? It's still down 73% from where it was at the peak in January of 2021. So all of 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and into 2026, and we still are nowhere close to that. If this thing really takes off, I think the 2027s and the 2028s can print. G Morning from Miami. Miami, man, that's a beautiful place. It is growing so quickly. That is definitely a city that I could see being a financial hub and replacing New York City. Let's see, any others? We already looked at Strive. Zeta, how's Zeta doing? I haven't looked at that one in a while. We did Tesla, but I can look at it again. Just give it a second here. So Zeta pushing up against peak volumes again, guys. I really like that. We want to get above this line. But once we get above like the 1920 range and turn that into support, again, higher low. Higher low. Technically, this is a lower low from this part of the trend, but higher low still from these 3 points above the 200 weekly moving average. And the fundamentals behind this company, I think, are great. I think it got butchered with everything software, but I think that is an incorrect assumption that people are making, because I think that this company could do really well, and I think we could get 132% increase this year on this company because they look like they're going to become GAAP profitable, and that's amazing. If you just look over here, guys, with Zeta, I'll probably pull that one up real quick over here on the financial side of things. This is what I love about Zeta. You have 25% revenue growth year over year. Look at this, United States revenue going up. ARPU, total scale customer, going up, so you're making more per customer. Net income was positive last quarter. Cash flow looking beautiful. Shares outstanding actually topping off. Cash looking better than debts. But again, they do have S&M and G&A that are higher as of these last like 3 quarters. But these guys are doing good, and they have a massive amount of proprietary data with shoppers all around the United States and I think around the world too. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it does. Sats, TUR, Jiver. I just did Cipher actually a second ago. Or did I do Cipher? I didn't do Cipher. Let me pull up Cipher real quick. I'll look at Tesla again one more time. Cipher is in clear breakout mode. I mean, it's very clear. I own, I think, a little bit of this, but I have not done very well on it because, again, I had to sell for tax loss harvesting. Sometimes you take your wins. You take a loss and miss a win, which sucks, but I did lower my tax obligation, or at least my capital gains, by $200,000. So I don't hate it completely, but this one is taking off, and I think Iron could do something like that too. I'll show Iron here in a second. But it's looking pretty good. I mean, it's going to probably take a pause maybe at the 21 range, but Cipher looks great. Iron real quickly. I'll do that one since that's a popular one. Again, it looks like it's tabling above this breakout zone that we had in this falling tightening wedge, and also what was previously resistance going all the way back over here. You know, resistance over here, try to turn into support, turn into resistance, 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 support. broke down, trying to turn it into support. And if we can do that, I think this is a really good trend. You can go a lot higher on IRN, guys. You could go 23% just to get to the first fib. You could go 81% to get to the next fib. You could go 152% to get to the next. And then I believe ultimately, maybe over the next year, 2 years, year and a half, you could go up 245%. This thing's already 15, 16 billion. But I mean, if they crush it, there's definitely a demand for energy. I think, guys, that might be it for now. Again, we're going to have chart day. We're going to have chart day on Thursday, so I'll probably do more charts then. So bring all your requests on that day. I already had you guys talk about a bunch, so I'll try and build some of them out beforehand. But I think that's it for today. I really keep an eye on MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is only down 2.21% today. STRC is up 0.15%. It was up 0.15% on Friday too. So it's at 99.36. If this thing starts printing again, it's going to be fucking nuts. Hims is an interesting one. Let's do that though Thursday. I will bring that up for sure. I'll bring a lot of these up. And again, I'm going to try and get more of these added in the Discord. I think today could be a decent day, guys. If we get any kind of drops, I'm going to be nibbling slightly on them. SoFi's down 1.44. Let's just look at pre-market over here. It's really not bad. If we look at pre-market, just refresh here. Energy's up like you would expect, but not a ton. And the big guys, like, it's a pretty flat market. Tesla's down 0.1%. Pretty flat market. This looks like it wants to go higher. And we know the CTAs are buying again this week, guys. So unless we hear like full-scale war and that turns out bad, I would expect us to keep going up. I think you should focus on that. Buy the dips, because I think they're going to end up rewarding you greatly. Bitcoin's still looking to break out. I think a lot of stuff is looking really good. I'm going to disagree with Sean Farrell on that. I think we're actually going to be sitting really good. Anyway, I think that's it for today. Love you guys. You take it easy, and I will see you on Thursday. Peace out. Maybe Wednesday if we do the earnings call. And I might take a vote on that. Peace out, guys. Take it easy. Bye.